Since 2015, Jared Stillman has rocked Nashville sports.
That team freaking stinks.
And now he's back. The takes are hotter than ever.
I mean, let's be honest, he just can't coach.
Welcome to Stillman and Company.
Stillman and Company, 440 Sports, live on YouTube. Again, that's at Stillman and A&D Co. Live on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, they say, across all digital platforms. And boy, I got to tell you, just to start off the top, the two shows, I mean, I think we've got on YouTube over, 4,000 for the first and over 1,500 for even more than that, like close to 2,000 for the second. Get those numbers up. Subscribe again at Stillman and Co. And the and is A&D at Stillman and Co. Subscribe. Be sure to tell your friends, etc. We're still working with Apple Podcasts, which is still pissing me off. But again, Spotify, Amazon, all of the major podcast players, with the exception of Apple, which we're getting up there momentarily. We are rocking and rolling here on the program. And by the way, let me start by saying this. On Sunday, we will have a post-game show. As soon as the Titans and Broncos are over, post-game live. And I don't know if we're going to call it post-game live or if we're going to call it Stillman post-game live. One or the other, I don't know. I don't care. But it will begin when the clock hits zeros on Sunday. So instead of having to wait for commercials or wait on 104.5 for the Titans broadcast to end and then them to turn it over to Titans Talk Back or whatever, we're going to be live. Just boom, let's go. Reacting to the game on Sunday. And we'll get your reaction in the YouTube chat and everything else rocking and rolling right away. So I want to start today's program. And by the way, we will have our first guest. I'm starting to get a lot more comfortable with the technical aspects here of running the show and having people run the show and everything. But we will have our first guest, Caroline Fenton. Who else would I pick to be the first guest of the program? Caroline Fenton will join us today on the program. Plus, tonight, we spent all year waiting. All year waiting. Since the Super Bowl, we are back. We are back. That's right. We are back for the NFL tonight, Dallas and Philadelphia. And normally on that Thursday, I make my picks for the season, but there's so much other stuff I want to talk about. So maybe I'll make the picks tomorrow. I'll just say this. I'm going to pick Dallas today. I think it's going to be an upset. I think Philadelphia, too emotional, smelling their own farts. I'll take Dallas. But we've made it. So I want to start the program with this. Yesterday, Buck Rising sent out a tweet that basically said the Titans, and I am paraphrasing here, but the Titans were waiting to release their injury report. I guess people are used to the injury report coming out around 3 o'clock. I don't exactly know when the injury report comes out. I know it comes out sometime around then. When I was on the radio, Ian would just tell me in my ear, hey, injury report's out. And I'd always ask him, is there anybody important on the injury report that we need to stop what we're doing to talk about? And for the most part, the answer was no. But fans get into that shit. They love it. Injury report, injury report. So Buck sent out a tweet saying the Titans were waiting to release their injury report. Why? Because the Broncos, who reside in Mountain Time, practiced later in the day. And I guess, from what I was told, my understanding is the Titans didn't want to give the Broncos the advantage of knowing their injury report. By the way, Dan Moore Jr. did not practice yesterday with an ankle. L'Jarius Sneed was limited with a knee. I told you all. And I think Kevin Winston with a hamstring. Whatever. I'm really sure Sean Payton shaking in his boots because he didn't know the injury report. But the Titans, again, went out of their way to not put out the injury report because they felt like, well, we don't want to give the Broncos the advantage of knowing our injuries before we know their injuries. And I thought to myself, oh boy, you guys really showed them. Way to go. Again, I'm not sure that the timing of the Wednesday injury report has anything to do with the game on Sunday. I'm sorry. But see, this isn't that big of a deal. Who cares when the injury report comes out or when it doesn't? But this is my biggest issue with Brian Callahan as the coach of the Titans. And it is an issue that I have seen for more than just one season now. It's one season plus an off season plus the training camp. And it's this reality that I just don't. He cares so much about pointless crap. I have never seen anything like it from a head coach. And I'm sure there are more coaches out there who get caught up in the minutia and the bullshit and are just like, oh, I got to worry about this because I don't remember. And those are the coaches that when they leave, everybody makes fun of. And they say, yeah, that coach was worried about whether or not the chicken noodle soup actually had high quality noodles in the soup as opposed to, coaching. And that's Brian Callahan. Just think about this offseason. Forget about last year with the toxic positivity and he and Ran Carthon, and they were so worried about narratives every freaking day. By the way, that's my new teammate at SiriusXM, Ran Carthon. But they were so worried about the narratives and about the toxic positivity and all the extra crap and everything else. And look, that's their business. But that was last year. This year, it's year 2 for Callahan. He should learn what matters and what doesn't. And what I've learned through his Pee Wee program this offseason, we're going to cut the team up into 8 teams and we're going to have challenges and it's going to be about accountability and it's going to be about effort and it's going to be about, again, I called it the Pee Wee program because it was so stupid. And it was. It was truly, truly so stupid. In fairness, I wish when I was on SiriusXM, I could have said, guys, the people in Tennessee actually believe that this Pee Wee program is going to work. How funny is that? But again, on that, they want to talk about Micah Parsons and Aaron Rodgers, and that was kind of what we were. But it was so ridiculous, the Pee Wee program. Yesterday, he talked about the planning of locker placement. Now, how are we going to have a guy over here and we want a defensive guy over there and a special teams guy over here and we want him? And I'm thinking to myself, so how's that going to help you return a punt? Because on Sunday, you're going to have to return a punt. On Sunday, against the Broncos, you're going to have to line up correctly. Sorry, but you are. But again, with Callahan and the way he runs the Titans, it seems to me like all he cares about are the things that don't actually matter on Sunday. I say roll my eyes. I don't know if it's the right way. I get angry, disgusted, whatever have you. I would say the word that I really feel when it comes to Callahan, because I like him so much, because I think he is a good guy, but the word I'll use with Callahan is disappointment. Like, I'm disappointed that Brian Callahan and his people are sitting there saying like, hey, whatever you do, don't release that injury report because we don't want to give the Denver Broncos the opportunity to know that L'Jarius Sneed is limited today with a knee. That may change their game plan. The 5 seconds they spent having that conversation is 5 seconds they could have spent on something that actually matters. And with Callahan, I feel like there has been such an emphasis on the pointless crap that it's like that eventually those 5 seconds for every stupid thing they've done, it adds up. I saw, and again, I was disappointed. The Titans made such a big deal on social media about having Chris Long and his podcast in town and having Bussin' with the Boys in the building for their podcast to have them in there. There is a 52-minute YouTube video in which half the team sat down and the coaches sat down for these interviews. And I keep wondering, so how is this going to help you beat the Denver Broncos? In fact, here's kind of the beginning. This is a 52-minute video. And if you're going to have a 52-minute video, I think chances are Now, for a 52-minute video, you're probably going to need just a boatload of content to be able to fill up 52 minutes. Here's kind of a cut from the beginning of this. This is from the Titans YouTube page. Here, you'll see it if you're listening or if you're watching on the stream. And if you're listening, then you'll just kind of hear it.
Can you start by describing the defense of the Tennessee Titans?
Tough, physical, aggressive, nasty, all the things that you think of when you think of defense. Denard does a great job of setting the defensive culture in that room with those players, and I think they have embodied it every time they take the field.
The defense of the 2025 Titans is going to be a high-effort, high-impact defense.
Just being relentless and competitive to the end of the whistle.
First word we talk about every day is discipline.
One thing that stood out the most is us being physical.
Big, fast. Some days they're going to get you.
We're looking to be, the baddest dudes on the field.
Some days.
Yeah, that gets me pumped. Yeah. Like, am I the only one? Am I the only person that saw that and thought, first of all, your defense sucks. And they showed in that cut all the guys sitting down, right? So it's Callahan. Tell me about your defense. Oh, man, our defense could be tough. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to be dominating. They're going to be smothering. They're going to be, and then they show all the players on defense just sit down one after another. And I'm sitting there thinking, how much time did we waste? How much time during training camp did they waste to put this crap together? Again, to me, that is my problem with Callahan. The fact that it's like, well, let's make sure we have podcast time in on the schedule. Let's make sure that we've got time for our YouTube videos. Let's make sure. And I know Callahan said, and I don't remember if this was when I was still on the radio or after I was there. I know Callahan came out and said, hey, I think our team does a great job with those videos. I don't have anything to do with them because I'm too busy coaching, but our team does a great job. Bullshit. I'm telling you right now, the head coach watches all of that stuff because he cares about it. In fact, I think the head coach is probably the one that's probably driving in on this, saying, oh, yeah, this is the one that, let's do this. Let's put this together. Because as stupid as that sounds to most of us, that's what bad coaches do. They obsess over crap that doesn't matter. And that's what drives me crazy about Callahan. That's why I don't think Callahan's a very good coach. He cares about way too many things that just simply do not matter and will not matter on Sunday. If you're trying to build a content network, like we're trying to do here at 440, then great. But he's not trying to build a content network, is he? I think he's trying to build a football team, a winning football team. And while it's not as if having Chris Long come to the building and sit down with everybody for interviews on his podcast, it's not as if that hurts the Titans per se, but it's a waste of time. It's a waste of brain power. Again, if you're not worried about building a content network, if you're worried about building a football team. And that reinforced what I saw last year when at one point during practice, Ran Carthon was doing a radio interview during practice. I couldn't believe it. In the middle of the interview, Luke Gifford had a pick six, which tells you about how bad that team's going to suck. Because when Luke Gifford is having pick sixes, I think that's a pretty obvious sign. So Ran Carthon's doing this interview, and it was him and Charles Davis, and it was with Sirius XM. And Ran Carthon was like, hey, that was Luke Gifford that just had the pick right there. And I'm like, he's doing an interview during practice. I texted Floyd's son, Sean Reese, and I said, would your dad have ever done an interview during practice? And Sean, and I don't remember his exact response, but Sean said no, and nobody with a brainstem would have even approached him during practice. But again, that's what the Titans, and I thought it was kind of more of a Ran thing, but I think it might actually be more of a Callahan thing. They just care about too much crap that doesn't matter. And I have to ask, do you think Sean Payton in Denver is wasting his time on all this meaningless bullcrap? And you know the answer to that. Sean Payton's worried about winning the game on Sunday. And I know Callahan's worried about winning the game too. But if you could only worry at 100%, Callahan, if he's spending time worrying about when the injury report goes out, that's taking away from worrying about the actual game. I don't think Sean Payton is worried about when the injury report is going out. But again, that's just me. And the one place where, okay, maybe this isn't all on Callahan, but I do kind of think it is, would be if the team went to him and said, hey, we're trying to sell tickets. We're getting a new stadium. We're selling these incredibly high-priced PSLs. This is very important. And so, Coach, we need you out there doing as many podcasts, and we need to put out as many YouTube videos as possible, and we need to pump up Sunshine, and we need to talk about Cam Ward's intangibles, the things you guys don't see. I mean, did you know that Cam Ward, when he walks into the cafeteria during lunchtime, if he takes a look at one of the players who we're asking to lose weight and he just gives them a look, that player will put that Oreo cream pie back where he got it from. And all of a sudden, he'll pick up a salad. And he'll use balsamic dressing, not even the good stuff like ranch or honey mustard. Because that power that Cam Ward has of his teammates. And Callahan gets on a podcast, says something like that, people are like, oh, God, Cam Ward. So maybe the team's saying, hey, you need to do all this stuff, Brian. You need to do these YouTube videos. You need to do all this crap. But while a lot of us live in a different world where content creation, where clicks, where eyeballs, where your subscribe, Stillman and Company, where that does matter, none of that matters in the NFL. None of it matters at all when it comes to the NFL. Jerry Jones has this weird sentiment where he thinks that the attention being on the Dallas Cowboys is good for the Dallas Cowboys business. And I'm not really sure there's a way to prove that or disprove that. But the one thing that I think really matters in the NFL when it comes to the bottom line is winning. It's doing what you're supposed to do on Sunday. It's not about hype videos to get the fans excited. Last year, the Titans did everything they could to hype up the fans, and all that hype was gone by week 3 when Malik Willis and the Packers walked into Nissan Stadium and put a foot up their ass. That hype video, when you put the injury report out, all that little minutia, none of that will matter at 6 o'clock on Sunday. And for some reason, I don't know what that reason is, but for some reason, I just don't think Brian Callahan gets it. And that's why I think he's a crappy host. Our brains are trained to think that how you feel matters in competition, and it really doesn't. Execution is what matters. You're not going to out-talent the Broncos. And I don't care if you out-hype the Broncos. If you're going to win the game on Sunday, you have to win the game in the margins. Execution, getting lined up right, selling the right fake, proper communication. That's what matters. Again, all the other stuff, the hype videos, the excitement, the he said this, the he said that stuff's over. We got a football game tonight. Because all that matters is the winning and the losing. So that's the first thing. By the way, somebody said, Stillman has never put down a cream pie. Let me say this. Those Oreo pies, like you can go in there, they are pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Topic number 2. And I'm sorry, but I can't help myself with this. Did anybody see the story the Titans put out there about Jeffrey Simmons' charity that the Titans wrote an entire article about today? So Simmons, who according to SpotTrack will make $18 million in cash this season and has a career earnings of $73 million, is pledging $980 per sack to underprivileged youth. Wow. Per the story from the Titans website, this season, Simmons, who wears number 98, is pledging $980 per sack to, quote, help eliminate barriers preventing Metro Nashville public school students in unstable housing from participating in school sports. Let me say this. I am totally in favor of Jeffrey Simmons doing what he can to help out children in Metro Nashville public schools in unstable housing to participate in school sports. Got nothing against that. The story continues. Simmons is teaming up with Nashville nonprofit Nashville Community Connections and the Metro Nashville Public Schools Heroes program to launch Sacks for Sports Equity, an initiative aimed at eliminating the financial and logistical barriers to sports participation for students in Nashville experiencing housing instability. Through his Give 'em a Reason Foundation, the $980 for every sack will directly support students enrolled in the HERO program, providing essentials like sports physicals, transportation, and essential sports gear like cleats or other personal items needed to play. Sounds very admirable. But let's crunch the numbers here for a second. Again, $980. For $980 per sack, if Jeffrey Simmons attains his 17-game average over his career, which is 6.4 sacks this season, he averages 6.4 sacks a year. If Simmons were to have 6.4 sacks, Jeffrey Simmons will be donating at $980 a sack, a whopping $6,272. That would be, according to my calculations, 0.035% of his salary. Way to go, Jeff! Look at that. Zero. Hey, I am here for the kids. And for the kids, I am going to donate 0.035% of my salary. Again, crunching the numbers. I did the math. Simmons played 880 snaps last year, and that includes the 17 he played on special teams. Jeffrey Simmons makes over $20,000 a snap. So a guy who makes over 20 grand a sack, a guy who makes over 20 grand a snap, who gets 6.5 sacks a year, is pledging $980 per sack. And it gets better because there's an additional element in this, which more money can be raised per the Titans story. Fans will also have the opportunity to join Simmons by pledging a donation per sack or making a one-time donation through a secure online platform. Every contribution helps level the playing field for students who deserve a chance to play, compete, and belong. So Simmons is going to donate 0.035% of his salary and then turn around and ask you to donate money. If you made $100,000 a year and you wanted to donate the same percentage of your salary to this initiative that Jeffrey Simmons is planning to donate, you would be donating $35 to get the same percentage of the estimated donation as the great two-time Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, Jeffrey Simmons. And I saw that this morning when I saw the article, Jim Wyatt put it out there. I saw this morning, Jeffrey Simmons is teamed up with an initiative to blah, blah, blah. And then I read it, I'm like, $980 a sack? Simmons had 5 sacks last year. We spend all year talking about why Simmons doesn't get more sacks. Simmons is donating $980 per sack. If Jeffrey Simmons played baseball and he said $980 for every strikeout, But we're talking about sacks. Even if he has a great year, he's never had a 10-sack season. Even if he has a great year, what are we talking about here? 11 sacks? So basically 11 grand for a guy who makes 18 million? And then he's going to ask you to donate too? And my initial reaction this morning was, shouldn't it be $9,800 instead of $980? Basically 10 grand a sack. And so I saw that. I'm like, wait a minute. Simmons, the guy who never gets sacks, who we constantly complain about, not getting sacked, he's vowing to donate, the highest paid player on the team, he's vowing to donate $980 a sack. And he got 5 sacks last year. Whoa. Again, crunch the numbers. If he gets his average, we're talking about $6,200 for the kids. And I thought, well, should I crap on this? Or should I just let it go because it's charity and any charity is better than no charity? But when I saw that line in that Titan story that fans can donate to, I thought to myself, what a crock of shit. Jeffrey Simmons, I'm here for the kids and I'm going to donate 0.035% of my salary to the kids. And the truth is, and the reason this pisses me off so much, is because this is who Jeffrey Simmons is. Jeffrey Simmons is a phony. He is a fake tough guy. He is a fake leader. He is a fake superstar. He thinks he's way better than he is. And now apparently he's a fake philanthropist too. With Simmons, it's all performative. Again, he took Cam Ward fishing. You know, he had talked about, well, Cam likes to fish. I like to fish. I'll take Cam out fishing. And if you watch that 52-minute Titans YouTube video that came out, boy, they got a lot of content from their fishing trip. Why? Because Simmons made the fishing trip about the publicity, not about the actual bonding between the two guys. Because that's what Simmons is. He's a phony. He plays for the cameras. That's it. He talks trash to get on the cameras. He donates $980 for sacks when he only gets 6.4 sacks a year. Because, again, they'll write a story and people will say, wow, Jeffrey Simmons, I'll tell you, he is thoughtful. He thinks about the kids. So you know what I've decided? In fact, Jeffrey Simmons, and he's using a very reputable PR firm that handles a lot of NFL players' PR to help him with this initiative. I'm willing to guess he probably spent more money on the PR of that story than he did on the actual donation he's going to make. Like, again, if he gets 6.4 sacks this year, that's $6,200 for the kids. And I bet you he's at least spending 10 grand on the PR of this story. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. I'm just going to be honest with everybody. This is the deal for Jeffrey Simmons. Because $980 per sack, when you average 6.4 sacks a year, it's not like he's Bruce Smith. And even then, I would say to Bruce Smith, you could probably up it a little bit. You could probably spend a little bit more money for the kids. So here's the deal I'm willing to make with Jeffrey Simmons. And I know Jeffrey Simmons doesn't like me, and I'm okay with that because unlike everybody else, I call out his fake bullshit. I call out the fake tough guy stuff. I call out the fake leader stuff. I call out the fake superstar stuff. And now I'm calling out the fake philanthropic stuff. So I know that's why he doesn't like me. That's fine. But here's the deal I'm willing to make. If Jeffrey Simmons ups the number today to $9,800 per sack instead of $980 per sack, I today will write a check for $6,200 to that initiative, to the Heroes or the Hero program or whatever, I will today write a check for $6,200. Tell me where to send it, because I'll write it, I'll send it, I'll post the proof of it online. Because I will say, if Simmons does get his 6.4 sacks per season, that for him will be an extra $62,000 he'd be donating, plus my $6,000. And I do think 70 grand would actually help the kids in this initiative. I don't know how much 6 grand is going to help the kids, but 70 grand will help the kids. And considering that Simmons has made $73 million in his career, I think, again, I don't want to be a pocket watcher, but I think he can afford it. So, something we have not done so far through the first 2 Stillman and Company programs is we have not had a guest yet. And I was thinking, who do I want as my first guest? And there were a couple heavy hitters that I was like, you know what? I could get that person on. But I'm like, no. The person I want on our very first show is Caroline Fenton, who joins us now from Yahoo Sports. I asked her for the little thing for me to say when she, comes on the show, and then I didn't have it pulled up. So Caroline Fenton hosts Yahoo Sports Daily with Jason Fitz from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Central Time, streaming live on Yahoo Sports YouTube, your preferred FAST, F-A-S-T channels, and yahoosports.tv. Caroline, welcome to the new Stillman and Company program. What do you think?
Thank you. It was very nice to be here in your bougie, fancy little new, no, I'm not going to say little, your new show. I'm honored to be here. But you said you could get some heavy hitters, but you chose me instead. Am I not a heavy hitter?
Well, you are a heavy hitter. And we're very, very proud, by the way, of all your success at Yahoo Sports.
And I'm very, very proud of all your success with your new show.
Thank you. So I want to start with this. The Titans they're 8-point dogs, 8.5-point dogs on the road at Denver on Sunday. I expect them to get killed. Yeah. And yet, I cannot get over yesterday. Buck sent out a tweet in which he said that the reason the injury report had not come out is because the Broncos, the Titans were waiting for the Broncos to release their injury report. And then when they released their injury report, the Titans would release theirs. And I said, this is example number 953 of Callahan wasting time, brain power, brain cells on stupid crap. And this is why I don't think he's a very good coach. And I think this is going to be a very bad season. Am I overreacting to Callahan in another 52-minute YouTube video, Callahan in his Pee-wee program, Callahan, and in my opinion, worrying about stuff that does not matter?
Well, I think that you are a victim of something that we are all a victim of, and that's confirmation bias. You already don't think that Brian Callahan is a good coach. So anything that he does that seems stupid on the surface to us is going to be, just fuel to the fire of why you don't think that Brian Callahan is a very good coach. But may I ask why he's doing that?
Well, they don't want the Broncos to have the advantage of knowing that L'Jarius Sneed was limited yesterday with a knee injury.
Let me just say this. The Broncos already have the advantage everywhere, all across the board. For every single way a team could have an advantage in a football game, the Broncos have it. So if the difference on Sunday is 42 points instead of 45 because Brian Callahan is withholding the injury report, then so be it. But it's not going to be the difference in a win or a loss. It's frankly just stupid what he's doing.
Okay, so I am a very depressed Titans fan to the point that the people that are truly excited for Sunday and truly excited for the new season because anything can happen, they're the kind of people, you know how this is. Jared, last year nobody thought Washington was going to be in the NFC Championship game. That kind of vibe. I ask this question of you, which is, am I wrong for looking at it like this? The Titans are a cheap organization that doesn't spend money. The Denver Broncos and the Titans 2 years ago had the exact same amount of cap space, the exact same amount of cap space. They had the exact same amount of cap space 2 years ago. They went out, signed Zach Allen and Mike McGlinchey and added real players. You brought in Andre Dillard because you couldn't afford anything because, again, your owners won't spend what the Walmart family will spend. They spent money on a real coach when they went out and got Sean Payton, who found his quarterback and had a plan for how to develop him. With the Titans, they don't really spend. The coach is a bozo, which means the young quarterback is going to be on a bad team in which they're going to ask him to carry the team before he is ready to do so. And the coach is going to have no sense of how to manage this situation. Ownership overreacts to everything. They're going to get crushed on Sunday. It's going to be a lost season where they win 3 or 4 games, and then we'll be right back at the same spot next year where they'll hire a new coach, and it will be, we need a coach to save Cam, and I'm admitting defeat. I'm waving the white flag. Is it too early for that talk? Am I wrong to be succumbing to what I think is an almost just, I'm not going to say certain reality, but it's pretty close.
Well, yes, it's too early for that because the ball has not even kicked off yet. So, I think there's still some space for a possibility that maybe Brian Callahan is not a total and complete doofus. A blind nut does find a squirrel sometimes. And I do think that there is a possibility that we could see something from Cam Ward this season. And if the Titans do go 4-13, but you see just a glimmer of hope, some light at the end of the tunnel with Cam Ward's development, I would call that a success. Is it a successful season? No. But that in and of itself is a success. And I think that there still is, I'm leaving hope, I'm holding space for that to potentially happen. Am I going to put my money on it? No. But is that a possibility? For sure. I think where you're coming from, though, and I think it is the worst possible feeling in sports, is what you are feeling right now. And that is hopelessness from an incompetent owner. What are you laughing at?
Well, it's just, it's the worst place to be.
It's an incompetent owner, an owner that you do not trust, an owner that has shown in the past to make decisions based off of emotions, to pull the rug from underneath people, to just make decisions without a plan, to just have such a directionless football team. That is a certain sense of hopelessness that you just cannot fix. I talked about this with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. You can fire a bad coach. You can move on from a bad GM. What you can't do is fire a bad owner, an owner that just wants to stick his nose into everything. And in Amy Adams Strunk's case, it's just the owner making decisions that don't really make very much sense. So I think that's what you are feeling. Now, that is separate, but also connected to what we're seeing on the field. Because Amy Adams Strunk is an emotional and irrational owner doesn't mean Cam Ward can't develop this season. And I think that those are two separate conversations, but also two conversations in and of the same. A good young quarterback can overcome bad ownership.
I think the problem is, I think she listens to the wrong people. I think she listens to the son-in-law who, I don't really know what his football background is for him to be making those kind of decisions other than he's married to her daughter.
Well, what a wedding. My goodness.
I think she listens to the wrong people. And I think she listens to people that don't know ball. And I think they get her worked up and they get her to act. And I think it's a train wreck. I think she listens to Brinker. Now, I do, Brinker knows more ball than most people, but what has Chad Brinker done to deserve that? I think she listens to the wrong people. Caroline with us here on the program. Okay. Does Cam Ward and the Titans, do they have any chance on Sunday? On the road at Denver, considered to be one of the toughest, loudest places to play in the NFL. Denver's got a top 10 defense, the reigning defensive player of the year in Patrick Surtain II. They've got all-pro pass rushers, including Nick Bonito, who just signed a new contract extension today. Bo Nix at quarterback. Is there any way with Sean Payton at coach, this is not a complete and total ass-kicking on Sunday at the hands of the Broncos?
Jared, I feel like you know me well enough to know that I always try to have a glass half full approach to things. I like to consider myself, on the spectrum of negative to positive. I like to think I lean positive, but no. No, there's no chance. I don't see any possibility. I do not see any avenue short of, knock on wood, a Bo Nix injury or, things that I don't even want to put out there into the universe. I do not see a single path for the Titans doing things, separate from whatever is out of their control. because I think Sean Payton is one of the best coaches in the National Football League. Bo Nix is Bo Nix. Like, he's fine. He's not going to throw a death pick. He's not going to make any bad mistakes coming into year 2. He's better this year than he will be last year, I think. The Broncos, I think, are going to have one of the top 10 defense in the NFL. I don't think that's being generous. The Broncos are going to be a playoff team. Like, the Titans are in contention for the number 1 overall pick, and we can talk about that today on September 4th. Like, that's how different these two teams are. And it's in Denver. Jesus, take the wheel.
So Adam in Portland says Cam is about to put the league on notice. Now, I watched the preseason, and I saw the throws, and I saw the bad, and I saw the good, and I went over each of it yesterday, and I said, look, when you throw the ball right into a defender's hands, the way that he threw the ball right into the defender's hands against Tampa Bay, that's bad. Now, I thought he made a very good throw on the sideline to Van Jefferson in the Minnesota Vikings game. Gave him credit for that. But he wasn't very impressive. His PFF grade was lower than pretty much every single rookie quarterback. And he was playing with a lot of first stringers, whereas those guys were not. He had better, Jackson Dart had better grades. Shedeur Sanders, who had a disastrous performance against the Rams, he had a better grade. Guys I had never heard of, Cameron Bazelak. I mean, I'm sure you know who that is. I have no idea who that is. Connor Bazelak, whatever. He doesn't even have a job right now. He had a higher grade than Cam Ward. Some guy named Brandon Woolridge. Who is that?
I've never heard of that person in my life.
He had a better grade than Cam Ward. So the PFF grade's not good. The stats not good. My eye test says he's got talent, but his footwork is terrible, and so he's going to have accuracy issues throughout the course of the year. I'm very, very nervous with this. How much should I buy into the PFF grades, the lack of performance, what I saw, and how much should I just buy into, he's a dog, you'll see, Jared, did you see what he did at Miami? He'll be great. How much should I buy into one versus the other?
Well, PFF grades and stats and what we see in the preseason, it's not nothing. Like, we can't just ignore it. And I think that's what a lot of people want to do whenever you see your favorite player or your favorite team have a bad performance in the preseason. Just, it's the preseason, who cares? You can't do that because it happened. And it's all that we have right now to hold on to, tangible football that we've seen. But it's not everything. Like, I can't take what we saw from Cam Ward or anybody in the preseason and say, well, that's exactly what they're going to be in the regular season. But also, I can't buy into the he's a dog, because you know what today is, the final day, my very favorite season. Everything's going to be fine season.
Everything will be fine season.
And today is the final day of everything's going to be fine season. And thank God for that. Because once the ball kicks off, no longer is it everything is going to be fine season. No longer is it he's going to be a dog, you'll see season, because we're actually going to have football to be able to talk about. So I think the truth falls somewhere probably in the middle. And I think that we all know, we're all smart enough to be able to acknowledge that Cam Ward is probably going to show some things this week or over the next couple of weeks that make us really excited. Big throws on the move, stepping up in the pocket, evading pressure. We saw a good connection between him and Calvin Ridley in the preseason. Like, though, we're going to see those things in flashes. But I think we also need to understand that Cam Ward probably isn't going to look very good in totality. There are going to be moments that are like, oh my God, what did he just do? Because he's a rookie and there's not a whole lot of talent around him. And I think we have question marks about the health of the infrastructure surrounding Cam Ward. I don't care if Cam Ward is the future Tom Brady. If he's got a bunch of ding-dongs around him, he's not going to be very successful. It takes a very special type of quarterback to be able to overcome incompetence in an organization. So I think we all need to remind ourselves of that. We need to take the good with the bad and understand that it's probably not going to be very much good, at least early on.
So Adam Vingan has chimed in the YouTube chat saying that was an all-timer from you, and that is saying something. I assume he's talking to me. When it comes to the YouTube chat, I can't keep up with, are they talking about me or talking to me, or are they talking to each other? What do we think Adam Vingan was talking about there?
Well, when all-timer from you and that's saying something, I don't think he's talking about me. Adam Vingan loves to keep up with your all-timers. I don't know what he was talking about, though. Maybe one of your Jeffrey Simmons pocket watching takes?
Am I wrong about the Simmons? $980 a sack? Are you fucking me? $980.
Also, how fun is it to be able to drop an F-bomb now?
I'm trying to figure out the right way to do this. Like, if I want people to download the podcast and listen on their way home, do I need to refrain from cursing because there'll be kids in the car, or do we just go full on Howard Stern?
Well, you don't have to go full on Howard Stern. Just let it happen. Like, let it rock. Sometimes you just need a good old F to get your point across. Sometimes you don't. But I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's kind of cute because it goes along with his number. But I mean,
I said today, if he ups it to $9,800 a sack, I'll donate $6,000 a day to the Hero Initiative or whatever it is. I'm not donating it to Simmons Charity. I'll donate it to what Simmons Charity says they're going to donate it to. I'll donate that. I'll donate the $6,200 that we would expect him to make off of $980 a sack for a guy who makes $20,000 a snap.
I was about to say, I feel like you've probably done the math. Let's say Jeffrey Simmons gets 10 sacks this year, just for the sake of calculations. That's $980,000. How many times does he make that in a week? Like, how much does Jeffrey Simmons make a week?
Well, if he's making $20,000 a snap, well, I mean, he's making $18 million in cash, so he's making over $1 million a week.
Okay, so this would be his weekly salary.
Yeah. So, I mean, what are we doing here? Okay, I do want to get your opinion on this. This happened on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. A lot of people were surprised by this. I was kind of stunned myself. This is what Pat McAfee said on his show. He was talking with Scott Hansen, the Red Zone channel guy. Here's where we all found out that commercials are coming to the Red Zone channel.
But I don't think anybody's upset about the commercials. I mean, it's an easy thing to kind of tweet about and post about, but I don't think anybody's turning it off because of commercials, and the NFL knows that.
Yes.
And it's like, we can certainly.
I'll tell you this. We've had meetings all off season. We had our rehearsal. We had our dress rehearsal in week 3 of the preseason, and we are not going to sacrifice any great football for any of the business side of things, right? The business folks are going to handle the business, and we play the hand that's dealt us, but we will not miss a touchdown. We will not say, oh, okay, this is 1st and goal from the 5, but let's, sell some pizza or pick up trucks. But
do it, yeah. Unless it's
like you pick and choose your spots like anything.
Okay. So a lot of people are outraged by that, and I get it. I don't disagree with the decision to be outraged, but I'm not surprised the NFL is trying to sell commercials on the Red Zone channel. I'm surprised McAfee is carrying water for it, with the idea, him actually saying, I don't think people are upset about that. Like, did you see how people got worked up over the Cracker Barrel logo? You think they're not going to get worked up about adding commercials to Red Zone? What has happened to McAfee?
That is so out of touch. That is, and from the number one person that doesn't feel like he has to carry water for ESPN in the slightest. I mean, he's making $1 kajillion. McAfee literally calls the shots. McAfee can pick and choose whichever 40-year tenured ESPN executive he wants out, and then they are. So it's out of touch. Is it that big of a deal? Like, no, it's not that big of a deal. Everybody's saying, I'm canceling my Red Zone subscription. Okay, do it. No, you're not.
Well, when you watch regular football, you're going to get a lot of emu too.
You're going to get a lot of a whopper. Like that, and am I the only person who kind of enjoys commercial breaks in football games?
Yes.
A girl's got to pee sometimes. Okay. A girl's got to get up and fill up her water sometimes. It's kind of nice to have a little bit of a break. I do understand, though, the outrage, because that's what Red Zone is. 7 hours of commercial-free football. That's what Red Zone is. So I don't not understand the outrage. I totally get that. I totally understand. I do think that everybody, once the ball kicks off, everyone's going to just breathe a collective sigh of relief. It's going to be okay. But it is kind of shocking that McAfee is doing that. You can tell it how it is, Pat. If anybody in that building can tell it how it is, you can.
Jude says there's too much complaining about the curse words on the pod. Says, grow up and grow a pair. Let me say this. Caroline did shoot down one idea that I had for the podcast that certainly would not have played on the radio. Can we tell them what it was?
Yeah, you can tell them what it is.
Okay. So I want to do a segment with Caroline called OnlyFence, where we took, on average, how many, and I can already see in the YouTube chat right now, like people that are like, oh God, Caroline's so hot. So I have to ask, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, messages, emails, whatever. How many creepy tweets, messages, etc. would you say you get on a weekly, monthly basis?
I would say I get like 3 a week, like across platforms. And for every 3 that's like, I want to buy your socks, there's one that's like, you stupid idiot bitch who has no right to talk about football, whatever. So there's usually like 3 nice ones that are really creepy, that like want to buy my bathwater for everyone that.
Have you actually got that?
I've gotten lots of socks. A lot of socks for some reason.
Just socks?
Like, yeah. And sugar daddy, sugar baby requests. Sugar daddies are rampant. If you're looking for one, I mean, like, you don't have to search too far. Got a whole lot of,
So do they want clean socks or dirty socks?
I think they want dirty socks, but I didn't ask. I did not clarify. I promptly blocked.
So I wanted to do this where we would go over it and then we would discuss how much you should charge. And Caroline was like, no, I'm not doing that. And I do understand why, because
doing that.
The second that we start doing that is the second that people all of a sudden, and this is unfortunate, but it's a reality in our industry. That's the second people stop taking you seriously as a sports person, is the second you kind of venture into that path. So I understood it, but I was very, very excited to do the OnlyFans. I told Caroline, I said, look,
your bubble.
If there is a 0.001, so about as much as Jeffrey Simmons plans to donate for his sacks, if there is a 0.001% chance that you would feel uncomfortable doing this, you don't have to do it. So that I push to the side. Caroline, I'm introducing a new segment now here on the program, if you're ready for this. This is going to be called the Thursday Night Sermon. In fact, it's going to be called Stillman's Thursday Night Sermon. And
take him to church, Jared.
We go to church as we start the beginning of our week with Thursday night football every week, but especially this one, which is the beginning of the season. I'd like to preach for a second, if I may, Caroline.
Please, the floor is yours.
Number 1, Jerry Jones needs an accountability jar if he's ever going to actually keep his promise to the Cowboy fans. Jerry went from don't lose sleep to, well, our run defense is better in about the span of a month. Hardly shows fans that he's a general manager with a plan. His Netflix blowjob series was called America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys. And yes, it was a total BJ to JJ. The next one should be called The Old Pawpaw Who Cried Wolf. It shows a general manager who has about as much accountability as the mom who catfished her teenage daughter into breaking up with her boyfriend and told her to kill herself and then tried to justify it after spending 19 months in prison. Just because Jerry says it does not mean that it is remotely true. And at some point, Jerry needs to be at least, I don't know, a tiny bit accountable to those poor Cowboy fans. Can I get an amen?
You can get an amen for that. Let me ask you one question. If Jerry Jones does have an accountability jar, who's going to collect more cash, Jerry Jones or Jeffrey Simmons at $980 a sack?
Well, Jerry's not putting any money into the accountability jar.
Well, if we are going to force him to have accountability, if Jerry Jones is going to hold himself accountable, are you kidding?
This is good for the Cowboys. Number 2, Roger Goodell knows Taylor Swift is not going to play the halftime show at this year's Super Bowl. She's not going to play the halftime show when her boyfriend may be in the game. But he nonetheless gave the impression that he'd welcome it. Why? Because the market for football that Roger and the NFL cares about, it's not you or me anymore. It's your 7-year-old daughter, Ella, who goes to school and her friends make Taylor Swift friendship bracelets and listen to all of her songs as if they've experienced any of the heartbreak or any of the other things that she talks about. That's who Goodell, that's who the owners want watching the games. They don't care about us. 10 years ago, true blue, red-blooded Americans vowed to never watch the NFL again because those players took a knee for the flag. And regardless of how actually offended some of you were, In the end, you all came back. They're looking at the untapped market. And again, it ain't me. It ain't you. It's your 7-year-old daughter. Can I get an amen?
Well, amen. But why would Taylor Swift not play the Super Bowl halftime show?
Well, if her boyfriend's in the game, she could be focused on the game.
She's already watched him play in 2.
I know. This is
third?
the last one. She could do it next year. She's not going to do it this year because he'll retire after this year. So she could do it next year.
Channel fairy tale ending this would be that the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. Taylor Swift plays the halftime show. Travis Kelce retires after the game, after the Chiefs win their 3rd in 4 years, and then they ride off into the sunset and live happily ever after.
Number 3, the United States has turned into the United States of make me, as in conflict of interest. So what? Make me change. Take me to court. And even if I lose, try to enforce it. Nobody apparently has the shame to admit the obvious anymore. And the latest is the NFL and the obvious discomfort of Tom Brady calling the top game of the week for Fox while also owning the Raiders. Now, Brady can do the full production meeting, which he was not able to do in the past, while he owns the Raiders. And while I guess I don't necessarily care because I love Brady, it is odd seeing him in full Raiders gear knowing that he's calling games on Fox. And Brady can actively go into team facilities and now talk to players directly. He can also talk to players indirectly through the television. If John Madden was secretly helping the Eagles in the 1990s, how would Jerry Jones have felt then? He would have gone nuclear. But I guess nobody cares because Tom Brady can do whatever he wants because I guess he was a good quarterback and Mark Davis, for some reason, thinks that means that he'll be a good owner. Can I get an amen?
Amen to that. All of this just feels so icky. It just feels so, it's just so wrong. If it was anyone other than Tom Brady, it would be a hard no-no.
And finally, our friend John Middlecoff at The Volume reports that Bill Belichick in North Carolina have banned Patriot scouts from attending UNC practices. If you had any question, does Bill give a rat's ass about anything but himself? You have your answer. The man who used to make players sign only team incentives instead of individual incentives because he wanted everybody caring about the team is just as petty and narcissistic as any other dictator you've ever heard of. The only difference between Bill and those dictators, they didn't let a 24-year-old without a college degree call the shots for them. Can I get an amen?
Amen to that. Amen to that.
Belichick is such a joke.
It's
and finally,
embarrassing.
It is so embarrassing. And they got, I mean, I'm not going to say that I was happy that they got smoked, but I certainly wasn't against it.
I wasn't happy, but it was exactly what I expected. Like, did anyone think anything differently? And I think the thing is, like, Belichick went from win at all costs to now shove it in everyone else's face at all costs. And if we win a game here and there, then cool, great, that's wonderful. Like, Bill Belichick is just finding a way to pout and finding a way to, rub it in everyone's face that he doesn't like, and is hurting his team, hurting his players, hurting an entire athletic department in the process. Like, why is he even coaching at North Carolina? He doesn't care about winning. He doesn't care about developing players. Like, what does he care about?
Well, he cares. He says he wants to show those players how to get to the NFL, but apparently for 31 teams, there's a 32nd team that he's going to
blocking his players from getting opportunities in the NFL. And if I'm a 4-star, 5-star kid, why the hell would I go to North Carolina? If my number one aspiration is to get to the NFL, well, North Carolina is not going to help me get to the NFL. So how does Bill expect to win games if he's not going to have players that have aspirations to play in the NFL?
By the way,
black football team.
By the way, I would not have gone and played for Bill Belichick. Like, if I had my choices and it was like, hey, I can go play for Dan Lanning or Bill Belichick, Dan Lanning. I'm not playing for Bill Belichick. Dude's a pawpaw. Game has passed him. And finally, on the day of the beginning of the NFL season, Caroline, I'd like to have a discussion about that fans need to hear. And I know you're on my side with this. So if I may, Caroline, may I please go on a rant for a second?
By all means.
There was a report that came out today And I don't know how much this report matters or not, but Adam Schefter said that the Eagles wanted Micah Parsons. Why did the Eagles want Micah Parsons? Because the Eagles and their owner want to win. And they are committed to winning. And I know they are committed to winning because they pay for it. Some of you fans don't seem to understand that your owner doesn't want to win or doesn't want it enough. Jerry Jones is a great example of this. Jerry Jones started the 2024 offseason saying that he and the Cowboys were all in, only to see his team do nothing in free agency. Why? Because he didn't want to spend the money. Why is Micah Parsons a Green Bay Packer and not a Dallas Cowboy tonight? The same reason. Cincinnati picked a fight with their top two pass rushers. And in no sport does spending the most money guarantee a championship, but it does matter. If it did guarantee a championship, the Mets and Yankees would have more than 0 combined championships over the last decade. But you can't win if you don't spend on your roster. And while the salary cap exists to give owners cover, the truth is Jerry could have paid Micah Parsons. He just didn't want to. Jerry Jones is a problem with more than half of the owners in the NFL. He represents this. The idea that his diet starts on Monday when it comes to actually wanting to win in today's NFL. And he's not the only one. Philadelphia is paying their quarterback, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, both tackles, a guard. They paid Zach Bond on defense after the Super Bowl, and they will pay Jalen Carter and Quinyon Mitchell when it's time. They paid their running back because apparently the Giants in the same division couldn't. By the way, who are the Giants paying? I know all the people the Eagles are paying. Who are the Giants paying that kept them from being able to re-sign Saquon Barkley? Again, it's not that these guys, these teams can't pay these players. It's that they don't want to. Dallas couldn't pay Micah Parsons, but Philly, with everything they're already paying, wanted to pay him. And you see a lot of times in life, we don't have control. You don't know when you're going to die. You can't keep your kids off of drugs no matter how hard you try. That's up to them. You can't control whether the ball bounces your team's way, but there are a lot of things you can control. And you can control the urge to eat Taco Bell. And yet people justify it all the time with, I just didn't have time. Yes, you did. You just didn't care enough when you did. So sorry to the fans where your owner doesn't care enough to spend, because you still have to play Philadelphia. You still have to play Baltimore, Buffalo, and all the teams that do. Good luck this season for you and all your fans, even if your owner would sell that good luck to the highest bidder.
Very well said.
Thank you.
I am just excited tonight because what did Jerry Jones get up in front of the microphone and say after they traded Micah Parsons? Whoa, we had to be better against the run. We're better against the run now. How many yards will Saquon Barkley run for tonight after they just signed Deron Bland to a new contract, who is one of the worst graded corners in the National Football League against the run?
I'm taking the Cowboys.
What?
I'm taking the Cowboys.
Why? You don't believe that.
I do. I'm taking the Cowboys tonight. I've seen this too many times. I've seen this too many times where the Eagles are going to have all that excitement, all that thunder, all that. The Cowboys, the anti-rat poison. Everybody thinks they're going to lose. I'm taking the Cowboys.
Well, the Eagles are so locked in, they're not even going to be on the field for the banner raising ceremony, which is so cheesy.
So locked in. Caroline, thank you so much for being with us. That's it for us today. Be sure to like, subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. Again, we're having trouble getting this uploaded to Apple for some reason. The other ones are all there: Spotify, Amazon, etc. Like, subscribe, tell your friends. Also, be sure to check out Caroline tomorrow at 8 a.m. Central Time on Yahoo Sports for Yahoo Sports Daily for Caroline Fenton, Stillman and Company. Did I do all the like and subscribe and all that the right way that the kids do it nowadays?
You did a great job.
Thank you. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, join the conversation live, drop your comments, subscribe so you never miss a show. That's it for us. Again, subscribe. I keep saying that For Caroline Fenton, Stillman and Company, 440 Sports. We are back live tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And of course, wherever you get your podcast, we will see you then.